And we are live here tonight at the Eatery in Uptown Lexington for the second coaches show of the 2021-2022 season with Davidson-Davie Community College head coach, Coach Matt Ridge. Coach, good to see you again.
It's great to be here. We're excited to have our second show. We kick off the season here on Monday night in Florida at Chipola. We're certainly looking forward to that. Our guys are ready to play somebody other than their teammates.
For sure. So since your show last Thursday night, you guys went to a jamboree at Brunswick Community College. Tell us a little bit about the setup for that jamboree, the teams you competed against, and your thoughts on how the guys did that day.
Well, we played 3 D1 JUCOs, Brunswick on their own court. We played Cape Fear, who's traditionally one of the better teams in Region 10, and, of course, arch rival Sand Hills was our last opponent. So, we certainly were tested. It exposed some of our weaknesses. We did go 1-3. We should have beat Cape Fear. We had them down 7 late, made some really poor decisions. But at the end of the day, I thought it really helped us as a staff address some things we needed to work on. We were able to beat Sand Hills, but I think playing high-level competition in the preseason is only going to do nothing but help us, Kip.
We are live at the Eatery, Uptown Lexington. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, we'll have the question and the comments that are open. If you have a question for us, please fire that along throughout the evening. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. Kip Childers here along with head coach Matt Ridge from the Davidson-Davie Community College. Now, speaking of Division I JUCOs, you had your final preseason tune-up on Saturday afternoon at Caldwell Community College. You played Caldwell early in October as well. What will be the keys for that game on Saturday afternoon for you?
Well, number one, playing on the road is a lot different than playing in the friendly confines of Brinkley Gym.
Sure.
Going down there after we beat them on our court on October the 2nd, I'm sure they're going to be well prepared, even though it's a preseason game. There's not a lot of love lost between the two schools and the programs. There's a long tradition between the two schools. So I'm sure Jameson will have his guys ready. We're only going to dress 9 because 48 hours later we play at Chipola. So we have 18 in the program. We're only dressing half of those guys. So it is going to give some of our guys that are not in maybe the top 7 or 8 a great opportunity to show us what they can do and their teammates, and most importantly themselves. So it'll be a big test on Saturday for everybody, including me and my staff, to prepare our guys for Caldwell.
You've talked a few times about Chipola College down in Marianna, Florida. That's your first game of the regular season coming up next Monday, November 1st at 8 p.m. How exactly did this kind of game end up on your schedule?
Well, they contacted me about a month ago. The assistant coach sent me an email, and I had one game left to schedule, and I was trying to wait on Carolina's JV team to see if they were going to have a season, which they're not because of COVID. And randomly I got an email saying they were looking for a quality opponent. I called the assistant coach, and I said, Coach, we don't have in the budget to drive down there, feed the kids, hotel rooms, gas, pay for a bus driver. And they offered to pay for our hotel rooms and pay for our meals. I got it approved by our administration, and it's a done deal. Chipola is one of the top JUCOs in the country almost every year at the Division I level. They played in the Final Four last year in the national tournament. They had a 7-3 kid that signed with Florida State. They have a guard that went to Seton Hall, a guard at Boston College. They had, I think, 10 to 12 Division I players. 4 or 5 of those moved on. I think 4 or 5 are back. They have 3 players that are considered high major, that 2 of which I was told this week when we were calling around some teams they have already played in the preseason that have a chance to play in the NBA. So, it's going to be probably the best talent we've ever played in our 15 years.
So you've talked about their team already. You've done quite a bit of homework on those guys. I'm sure they've done the same for your staff too, or for your kids too. I think that comes with the territory of having a quality program like you guys have had over the years.
Well, I've always believed whatever you're doing in life, you can outwork others. We expect our players to outwork other players around the country, and it starts with me as a head coach, watching film, typing up scouting reports, telling our kids what they're going to expect to see on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. Their coach used to be the head coach at Tennessee. He was a high major Division I coach. He runs a boatload of all kinds of different actions that's hard to guard. Double screens, triple screens, horn sets. I mean, he's a really, really good coach. So I'm sure his kids will be well prepared. They're coming off that national tournament run to the Final Four. They're going to be celebrating last year's team. So we're going to have our hands full. We actually started prepping today in practice. We went over how we're going to guard a lot of their actions. They also press the whole game, Kip. and they fall back into a wide athletic 2-3 zone. So we're going to have our hands full.
A comment here or a question here from Janet Sherlock. When is game time? So game time for game number 1, 8 o'clock.
Well, actually, believe it or not, Kip, Chipola College is in the Panhandle.
So it's 1 hour.
Yeah, it's 1 hour, I guess, behind us.
Yep,
so
Central Time Zone.
7 o'clock their time, which is where we play, will be 8 o'clock here Eastern Time. So if you're going to be watching online that night, this coming Monday, it'll be 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Well, Janet, thank you for the question, and that brings up a great point. A lot of people think Florida is completely in the Eastern Time Zone, that Panhandle being over in the Central Time Zone. Now, going to the Wayback Time Machine, let's talk about your time as a student athlete. Later as a student assistant coach when you were at North Carolina. How did it come about you decided to attend North Carolina? What was your recruitment like coming out of high school at Ledford?
So my junior year, we were 18-1 playing East Davidson at home at Ledford, and I was guarding a player that went back door. They threw a lob to him, believe it or not. I went up and stole the pass, probably below the rim because I couldn't jump that high. Came down, tore my ACL, and I was done for the season. It was very difficult because my team went on and played in the regional semifinals and lost to Bessemer City. I was being recruited at that time by Wofford, William Mary, and several schools. My senior year, I rehabbed after the ACL reconstructive surgery. I had no Division I or Division II offers. Fortunately, I was a good enough student to get in Chapel Hill, and I went there and tried out for the JV team, which is where I met Coach Neal. I was fortunate and so blessed to play 2 years on the JV team in Chapel Hill. My junior year, Coach Neal and I both tried out for the varsity, and I was the last one cut. Coach Neal made it, lived the dream. And Coach Smith had Linda Woods call my apartment where David and I lived. When I got back to our apartment, I had a flashing light. We didn't have cell phones back then. On the answer machine, I hit play, and Linda said that Coach Smith wanted to see me at whatever time that afternoon in his office. I thought I'd made the team. I mean, why else would he want to meet with me, right?
Sure, right.
So I go down there all excited, and he pulls me in his office and tells me, Matt, we're going to cut you, and explain why, which made perfectly good sense, even though it was not the news I wanted. But he spent about 20, 30 minutes with me, which has always stuck with me, that he took that time out of his day to explain to me why he was not keeping me on the varsity. And he offered to help me transfer to a couple schools that recruited me out of high school, like High Point and Jerry Steele. I actually went on a visit there. But I told him I wanted to stay in Chapel Hill, and I wanted to go into coaching. So he offered me a chance to coach with Dave Hanners that year on the JV team, which is who me and David played for our sophomore year. And then my senior year, I was assistant to Phil Ford.
Well, your final 2 years of college, you did. You were at Chapel Hill as a student assistant coach. Not many people even knew that a major program like Carolina had a JV program. But you played and coached for them during their 4 years at Chapel Hill. Describe what was it like as a student assistant coach, with what the daily schedule was like with the JV program at Carolina.
We usually practice either before or after the varsity. So we would wait in the tunnel while they were practicing and, hit the floor running after their practice, or vice versa, depending on what time the varsity, practice. Everything obviously down there revolves around the varsity. So, I was just, to be honest with you, looking back on it, I'm just so honored and humbled to be a very, very, very small part of the rich tradition in Chapel Hill.
Well, I told you my story about Chapel Hill. I was a wrestler in high school, so we went to wrestling camp one year there. We stayed in the dorm. We could see the Dean Smith Center just across the way. And one night, a bunch of wrestlers decided we would go see what the Dean Smith Center was about, right? We go rolling into there. We found a door that was unlocked. Found our way in there, and the worst exhibition of basketball you've ever seen in your life by about 50 wrestlers trying to play basketball. So we'll leave it right there. You talked just a minute ago about Coach David Neal, and we're honored to be joined by Coach Neal, probably someone other than your family that knows more about you than anyone else. So a longtime friend, former teammate, state championship coach, and a Hall of Famer, Coach David Neal joins us tonight on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Honored to have been asked to come. It's great to see Matt and catch up on Storm basketball.
Well, you guys you talked for right up until we came on the air. We were a little worried that we may end up just doing the show just with me, which would have been terribly boring for everyone that's out there. Joining us on Facebook Live tonight, again, we are live at the Eatery, and we thank you for joining us. If you do have questions, please be sure and join us. And we'll get a little help with my phone there, keeping my questions populated there. So, Coach Neal, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about how you came to know Coach Ridge.
I remember first meeting Coach Ridge in Woolen Gymnasium. We were both trying out for the JV basketball team as freshmen at Carolina. And we went in there before tryouts to get some shots up. And I wasn't so sure about him. I thought he was a little cocky at first, but ended up being my lifelong best friend.
That's awesome. You and Coach Ridge were teammates at Carolina on the JV team for 2 years. Describe what position, type of player that you were in terms of your strengths and weaknesses, and then let's talk a little bit about Coach Ridge. Same topics.
I played point guard, and Matt transitioned over to shooting guard from high school to Carolina. So I was definitely a pass first, shoot second type of player. Like to penetrate and kick. Loved to penetrate and kick to Matt Ridge on the wing for the three because he could light it up. So he was an incredible shooter and a fierce competitor, and just loved being out there every minute we were on the court.
Man, so when I was going to high school here in Davidson County at North Davidson High School, we hated Ledford because they had so many great outside shooters. Of course, Coach Ridge was one of those. Now, rumor has it that you and Coach Ridge are still very close friends and have remained close friends to this day. What can you tell us about Coach that perhaps some of our Storm fans listening don't know about him?
Well,
and we won't tell anybody else. It's just
You better be careful on that one.
just us talking here.
Well, basketball-wise, you might not know that I know y'all just mentioned his career at Ledford, that he played for the state championship in the Smith Center, and then he was asked to play in the blue-white game. I think that was in the fall of '93 after the Heels won the national championship. So that was a huge honor for Matt to be in that game. And then outside of basketball, a couple weeks ago, he sent me a video clip of the band Alabama playing, and he's a huge Alabama fan. He's probably been to like 30 concerts or more.
That's awesome.
Usually at Myrtle Beach, his dad would hook him up with sweet tickets at the Alabama Theater.
So that's awesome.
I've been to many of them with him.
Karaoke night, look for a song from Alabama come from Coach Ridge.
You're not going to get that.
Davidson-Davie Community College men's basketball team currently has an overall record of 363-77, 219 wins coming at home to only 19 losses in Brickley Gym. They've had 8 All-Americans, the highest winning percentage of any junior college men's basketball team over the last 14 years. And during that span, Coach Ridge has been selected Coach of the Year 10 times. Now, knowing Coach Ridge as well as you do, tell us how you think Coach Ridge, his staff, and everyone involved with the program has maintained such a high level of success year in and year out.
That's a great question, and I'd first like to say how incredible those numbers are.
Right.
The impressive record at home is just, it's incredible. The first answer I would come up with would be recruiting. Every other time I call him on the phone, he's in the middle of on the road to go see somebody play or on the phone with somebody. He's a tireless recruiter. The other thing is his love and passion for the game of basketball. It's like nothing I've ever seen from any other coaches I've been around. You know, we've been to a Final Four in Atlanta just to go and be, you know, take that atmosphere in, and he just loves being around it. And the next thing is just his IQ and his coaching ability is incredible. You know, I get so many plays from him when I was coaching. Like everything I did, I got from him other than Coach Smith. And then the last thing I think of is the way he builds relationships with his players. I've seen that. I got to go to Danville, Illinois, and spend the night with Coach Mullis. My travels plans were so weird that I didn't really need to get a hotel room, so Coach Mullis let me hang out with him for a couple hours. But just seeing Matt hang out with his players before and after the games that weekend was just great to see and fun to be around. But he just invests so much in his players and does a great job building relationships with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is how you win games, because then the players trust you and you trust the players.
Well, and absolutely. And I think the one thing that I've noticed over the past couple of seasons now is in seeing him interact with the players, you see the love of the game when he's on the court, when he's around the guys talking, but you also see how that spills over into his relationship with the kids. He said it, and we've all seen it. They are a part of his family if they're a part of the program.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Your final 2 years, you were a walk-on on the varsity team at Carolina. Talk about what it's like to play for Coach Smith.
Well, it was an amazing experience. It was a dream come true. I grew up going to his camp every summer. And when I was in high school, I played 3 sports and was kind of average at all 3 of them and loved all of them. But I thought my playing days were over when I got to Carolina, and then found out about the JV team, and my dad talked me into going out for it. And that's how I met Matt and met a lot of great people through that program. And so there's so many stories that I could tell about Coach Smith. We don't have time on the show tonight, but I remember him when it was my turn to try out for the team. When Matt and I were trying out, I actually had a stress fracture in my foot, and I couldn't even go. And I thought he was going to be like, sorry, you're hurt, tough luck, you know. And he asked me what I wanted to do. He said, do you want to go into business? And I said, no, I never wanted to go into business. I think I want to go into coaching. Right. And when I said that, he kind of turned and had this look like, well, maybe we can help you out. And, you know, it's strange how things work out. You know, I wasn't recruited at all in basketball coming out of high school. And so never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd have a chance to play for Dean Smith and play with the guys that I got to play with. So it was a lot of fun. We got to go to the Final Four my first year playing, and played with some great players, some pros that played for a long, long time.
You know, you talk about that. Players such as Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace, Antoine Jamison, Vince Carter, just to name a few. You basically got to get in there and mix it up with a lot of great names that we're all familiar with. What was that like?
Yeah, those are the 4 names I always throw out when people ask me, well, what was it like, you know, who'd you play with when you were at Carolina? And I actually got to play with Jerry Stackhouse on a travel team, AAU team. He was a year younger than me. And in my AAU team, we would always get to the championship game and lose to the Charlotte Royals. Every year we couldn't beat them, and then we recruited Jerry Stackhouse, and then we had no problem with them and beat them by like 20. So what I tell a lot of people is as many great dunks as you saw if you're a Carolina fan, those Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed make in games, there was probably 10 times that many in practice.
Wow.
I mean, it was insane, some of the things that they could do on the basketball court. And then my last year I got to play with Antoine Jamison, who's an awesome guy and took the league by storm. He was so good, and Coach Smith loved him so much. It was so awesome just being around him. And then Vince Carter, my 2 memories of Vince Carter are winding up doing one-on-one drills with him in Midnight Madness, which was not fun at all. No telling how many times I got dunked on. And the other was I got in the game against NC State in the first half in the Smith Center, and had 2 assists to him, and he hit 2 threes, and the place was going wild, and State called timeout and got to run off the court. So that was one of the biggest thrills that I had while I was there.
That's awesome.
Thanks to Vince.
That's awesome. So apparently you and Coach Ridge took a cross-country road trip one summer while you guys were in college. Word is that on the trip you both met Coach Roy Williams and spent the night at his house. Talk about what that trip was like for you guys. How did it come about that you ended up at the Williams house in Lawrence, Kansas?
Well, the trip was my idea, and I hope Matt has fond memories of it, but I'd always just kind of had a wild hair and wanted to go to California and back. And so we went through Nashville, Tennessee first, and then we wanted to go see Lawrence Fieldhouse. And it was in the summer, and so they were having camp. And we went in there and walked around and just watched the kids play. And when we were walking out, it was kind of sundown, evening time, and Coach Williams was by himself, and we just met face to face, his complete chance.
Right.
And he asked if we were working camp because he could tell we were college-age kids, and we were like, no, we're actually just driving to California and back, and we wanted to see Lawrence Fieldhouse. And Matt had coached his son, Scott Williams, and he said, well, and we asked where Scott was, and Scott was working in another gym. So we rode over there to see Scott, and he's like, well, where are y'all staying? And we're like, oh, we're just staying in local motels all the way to California. Well, come on over and stay at our house tonight. So we took him up on that.
How cool is that?
And it was really cool. And I remember he showed us his dad's office up at the upstairs of the house, and pictures of Michael Jordan in there, and John Wayne's gun. He had John Wayne's gun, which I found really awesome. I'm a big John Wayne fan. And I remember sleeping on a sleeping bag in the floor and it was a horrible storm, lightning. Like I couldn't sleep all night because it just felt like lightning was like right on top of the house the whole night.
I was just in Kansas last week, and storms here have nothing on the storms that happen in the Midwest. So
yeah, I'll never forget. And I also remember Coach Williams was on the phone the whole time in the kitchen recruiting somebody that night while we were there in the middle of the summer.
There actually was a tornado that night that came through there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That area is absolutely insane. How the storms, and they'll change on you in just a heartbeat. After graduation, you went on to become a long-time and eventual state championship high school coach here in North Carolina. Talk about some of the schools that you coached at and who were some of your mentors along the way.
Well, after my last year of playing, I had the same opportunity Matt did to help Phil Ford coach the JV team. So Phil Ford's always been way up there in terms of mentors and coaches that I look up to and players that I look up to. After that year, my 5th year of school is when I student taught. I changed my major a couple times, so I did the 5-year plan so I could hang out with Matt some more. But I went to Lewisburg High School, which is a 1A school, and was fortunate to get the head job because of my connections with Coach Smith, I believe. And so I spent 5 years at Lewisburg High School, and after that I got the job at Apex High School where I spent 17 years.
Yeah, so while at Apex in 2008, 2014, you guided the Cougars to the North Carolina State Championship game, and in 2014 you won that championship. Describe what it's like coaching multiple times in a state championship game and the feelings you had after winning it in 2014. Winning a championship at any level in any sport is tough.
Well, it was really special for a lot of reasons, obviously, but one thing is that my dad played for a state championship in basketball a long time ago, and they lost. So all my life coming up, I heard all about that game, probably more than I wanted to.
Right.
And then when I was at Sanderson High School, where I work now, my senior year, we made it to the state championship in baseball, and we came up short. We lost to Kernersville Glen in best-of-3 series. We lost 1. And then in 2008, we had a very unlikely run to the state championship game. We started the season 4-9, and
wow.
We had lost a Division I stud the year before to graduation. He played at Fairfield for 4 years, Urel Hawkins. So we were a team that had no expectations that year to be very good, but I had a great player who was ineligible the first half of the year. And when he became eligible, we won 12 out of the next 13 and then won all those 5 straight playoff games on the road. So it was a magical run, but unfortunately we came up short. So I had come up short as a coach and as a player and heard about my dad's game back in the day. And so, when you lose in 08, you don't know if you're ever going to get back there again. So to get back there in 2014, it was a totally different type of team, and expectations were really high that year because we were loaded and we were supposed to do well, and that puts a lot of pressure on you. But when we won that game, it was just complete joy. And I remember Coach Ridge being there when I ran out on the court. I saw him grinning from ear to ear, and I was pointing at my family at the time that was sitting up there in Reynolds Coliseum. So it was one of the greatest moments of my life for sure. And the other thing that made it so special was when the game was over and the press conference was over, I had tons of former Apex players there at the game and families, and it was just like a reunion almost. It was really neat to see all them in the stands pulling for us as hard as they were.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talk about the slow start, the great run there to end. It proves a point of being hot at the right time too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the last couple of years, you spoke about Sanderson High School there in Raleigh. You've returned there to be their athletics director. Well, what's that experience been like so far? How would you compare that job to your previous years of coaching? And is there a possibility we could see you on the sidelines again?
Well, the job's been really tough. My first year, I'd been 17 years at Apex, and so when you change jobs like that, I didn't know anybody. It's just completely starting over, so I didn't even know who to ask, where to turn the lights on in the auditorium or whatever, So it was tough in a lot of ways, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit in the spring of my first year,
wow.
My job got a little bit easier because sports shut down. We weren't having any sports, But then the second year of my job is when they piled them all on in January, which was completely insane, where we had lacrosse, football, soccer all going on in the stadium at the same time we've had basketball games going on in the gym.
Yeah, piecing all those schedules together had just to be insanity.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And just looking at the week ahead, how many nights I'd have to be up there is just kind of exhausting. But now I'm in year 3, and I'm feeling more and more comfortable, I feel, each day in terms of getting to know the people that I work with and building relationships with them. So I have 2 boys, and they're in high school right now. So that was a tough decision when I stepped away from coaching to give up maybe the opportunity to coach my youngest son, Andrew, who's a good player and loves basketball as much as Coach Ridge does. I love it, but I don't love it as much as them, man. It's amazing how much he loves hoops. But so he's a rising freshman, my youngest one, and my oldest one. My youngest one's named Andrew. My oldest son's named Walker. They'll be playing hopefully together this year. And so Andrew's got 4 years left. I'm hoping to get 4 years in at least as an AD, and then we'll see. But I think the more and more time that goes by, the harder it will be for me to go back. So
if I have an opening on my staff, you never know, right?
And I can understand that. Sitting at a scorer's table, whether it's at the high school level or the collegiate level, and you see that athletics director in the corner doing 1,000 things at a game, a lot of times not even being able to watch a game. That's going to be tough for you.
It is, and like you're exactly right. Like last week, we had a huge football game and we won. And my Sanderson Spartans beat Leesville Road to set up a winner-take-all conference championship game tomorrow night for us against Cardinal Gibbons. And literally, like, I wanted to watch every play of that game, and when it was over, I was like, I have really no idea what just happened in the game, but all I know is that we won.
Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for joining us here tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time out. I know your schedule's busy. The drive wasn't a short one, and the weather tonight, not the best here in North Carolina, but thank you so much for joining us.
It was great to be here. Thanks so much for having me, and go Storm.
That's right.
I'd like to thank him as well. I mean, he took time away from his family to be here, Holly and the 2 kids. So thank you so much, David.
You bet.
So switching gears now, back to Coach Ridge. You've had time to catch your breath over here for just a moment. Much like Coach Neal, you've got athletic director duties that's in your agenda now. So after teaching in the classroom and the high school level for so many years, what's it like? What's the transition been like? And is there a learning curve involved here?
Absolutely. That first month and a half, 2 months, it felt like I was learning something new, not just every day, but literally every hour.
Right.
And I'm still learning. I mean, there's just so many things about being an athletic director that a lot of people may or may not know, whether it be fundraising or learning the purchase order deal. I mean, just there's so many things that people don't really probably think about unless you're in those shoes.
Right. And so, again, that, as Coach Neal and I were talking about, it isn't basketball. It's all sports at DDCC.
And to be honest with you, there's parts of it that I've really enjoyed. Having the chance to be full-time at the college is something I've wanted to be for a long time for a lot of reasons. Like earlier this week, I met with every player in my office just to talk to them about their roles, what they are currently, and other things, what's going on with their families, just getting to know them on a higher level. And then, of course, relationships with faculty and staff, people that don't really know Matt Ridge. They just hear who he is.
Right.
But being there on campus, I get opportunities to go around and meet people and really get to know them.
So we've talked a little bit since the transition has changed. More pressure, more stress, more time involved in it, or has there been a good balance because you're not in that classroom anymore?
Well, I was teaching high school math for 25 years, back and forth every day just about. It's like working 2 full-time jobs. Being at one place all day is really nice. But, the autonomy is out the roof. I make my own schedule every day. I can meet my wife for lunch. I can take my kids to school, whereas before those things were more difficult. So there's, on a personal level, a lot more freedom. And Dr. Hartness has told me my hours are going to be a little different than the average cat at Davidson-Davie. So, I'm there pretty late or out on the road recruiting. So, I just have a lot more freedom to do things I need to do as long as I get the job done. And that's the bottom line is any athletic director wears so many different hats throughout the day. You have to, at the end of the day, put things in priority and make sure those things get done. Obviously we have a big game coming up on Monday. We turn around 48 hours later and play our home opener on Wednesday. So I've got to understand what my AD duties are, my coaching duties, but I've also got to be a good husband and father at the same time. And mixing all that in while you're learning the AD duties is challenging, but it's something that the Lord has put in my path, and it's my job to figure that all out.
Yep. So a supportive family for sure, and that's been well documented. We've talked about that over the past couple of years. Now with your AD duties, when you do have to put on that coach's hat, you've got to have a good staff there behind you to make sure things are getting done at the college.
Coach Allen's not here tonight, but I give him a lot of responsibilities. This year it's just me and him for the first time. It's just two of us, so I'm going to have him literally all over the state this year recruiting. But Coach Mullis was on my staff for 5.5 years. We get after it pretty good. Almost every night we're not playing, we're somewhere out beating the bushes trying to find that next All-American. So, but there's pieces to the AD job I really have thoroughly enjoyed. Getting out in the community. Justin Strickland, former All-American, we just named the floor after. He gave quite a bit of money to our athletic program. Todd Hunt from Jerry Hunt Auto gave a lot of money to our athletic program as well, so we put a big sign on the side of the building. So if there's folks out there, businesses interested in maybe joining us and partnering with us, please contact me via email or give me a phone call.
It's really nice living in the area that we do that has so many great folks and companies that are interested in being a part of the program.
Absolutely. We're so blessed.
So, Coach, you want to take a little bit of time to talk to some players tonight?
Absolutely. Let's get big Keith Reese up here first. Keith is a freshman out of Bull City Prep.
Tell you what, I'll slide over. Put Keith right there.
6'8", doing a great job. I mean, he's really coming along. He's obviously got a physical presence on the floor. He's learning to think faster. He's just getting better and better every day. Really proud of him.
How's practice been for you here, Keith?
Practice, it's been very competitive. I mean, there's still days where I struggle, but at the end of the day, I just got to push through it and try to get something out of it every day, like Coach said. Try to get through practice, get something out of it. So every day I try to get something out of it, learn something new, and try to translate it onto the floor in game day.
Ready to get started with this schedule that's getting ready to come on upon you?
Yeah, very, very excited, very excited.
Anxious to play people like Coach Ridge said, other than your teammates. It's nice to see strange faces on the floor.
Else.
So talk a little bit about what your goals are for the season. Have you laid any out there for yourself?
As far as myself, as far as team-wise, I want to help the returners. The returners, they talk about getting back to the national championship, and I know how bad they want it. So I want to help them as much as I can, help them get back to that spot. And, while I'm on the floor, I want to rebound with physical blockouts, make sure I get back in transition, make sure I run this floor after defensive rebound. So just make sure I do the little things to help this team out.
I can't wait to see you. I'll be a part of the games this year as well. Can't wait to see you on the floor and what you can do and keep up with all those rebounds that you're bringing down.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, good luck this season.
You too.
We got Jonathan Faust from right up the road, Providence Grove as well. Jonathan's a freshman. He's a athletic wing / forward, doing really, really good and learning a lot and putting in a lot of time outside of practice. Really proud of Jonathan.
What are your expectations this year? What are you thinking about?
There's a expectation so far is very high on me eventually because the way the team wants me to help them out is be able to shoot better consistently from the three ball and work on my right hand. So there's a lot of expectations for me to do that, and I'm working on it outside the gym and while doing it in practice as well.
Well, one thing that I've noticed over the past or since the inception of the program is the amount of points that the Storm put up on the scoreboard. So having a hot hand outside is going to be important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's talk about some goals. We talked about this with Keith. So what are some goals that you've set for yourself?
The goals I set for myself is being able to expand my role higher right now. I know what my role is so far, but I want to be able to do more for the team. So I'm just working hard every single day just to get better and expand my role.
Who's the toughest teammate on the floor when you're out there practicing?
Toughest, either LJ or Javion, one of those two.
I can understand that for
Yeah.
sure.
For them being, out there in 3 years, you know what I'm saying? They know what's going on and how things work. So I got, it's hard to catch up fast with them, but I know how to, we just got to get it done, man.
As the season goes on, we'll ask you the same question and see if the players are still the same about the tough players. You need to be one of those tough players later in the season as we're talking to the other guys, right? Mm-hmm. Well, best of luck to you this season.
Appreciate it.
I don't know that we've ever really interviewed the brains behind the program. Why don't we get the coach's wife over here?
Man, if you could see the stares you're getting right now.
I'm not looking.
Okay, so I'll look. So she's getting prepped up to come over to the table. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. Come on.
And I'm glad she's beside of you too.
Thanks so much.
Is it on? Okay.
So let's talk about a little bit. If you want to face me, so you don't have to talk a little bit about
He's
what.
got to go home with me.
I know he does. What's it been like being a coach's wife, and not just this year, not just in years past. He's been a gym rat since you've known him. So talk a little bit about what it's been like being the wife of Coach Ridge.
Well, like anything in life, I think it comes with a lot of good, and there's some bad with it, but we, do the best we can and juggle and make the most of the time we have together. And the good far outweighs the bad. But obviously I met Matt, and he was a coach. Well, he just accepted a high school job at East Davidson when we started dating. So I have been in a gym almost 20 years of our marriage, and then 2 years dating. So, it's a second home for us. I say we literally have raised our children in Brinkley Gym. Madison was walking when he took the job. But there's a lot of days that it would be nice to have an extra set of wheels to transport kids to and from activities, or extra set of hands when the kids were small for bath time. But at the end of the day, I just want him happy, and I'm thankful that he has something that he is so passionate about and that he is obviously very good at.
Well, I think the one thing that we notice is how much his love for you guys spills over onto the team, and I saw that last year. Really for the first time as I was becoming more and more involved with the program. It's one great big family.
Sure, and that makes it a lot easier. I think if we didn't have the one big family, that there would be a lot of harder days. But the fact that I truly love these guys as much as I love our own, and to be real honest, sometimes they give us more headaches than our own, because we do worry for them, and we want them to do their schoolwork, and we want them to be successful, and we want to use basketball to see them further their schooling. So the fact that it is a family has just been so rewarding, and our girls get attached, and the hardest part about the family, though, is having to let them go. And I want they'll always be a part of the family, but, after 2 years, it's really hard to say goodbye. But I said, as bad as COVID has been for us, for our basketball family, it's been such a good thing, because we've gotten to kind of get a taste of what a 4-year would be like, to have some of these guys around for 3 years.
Well, you're certainly taking advantage and making the best of what has
Sure.
been a bad situation.
Sure.
During games, do you find yourself being critical of his decisions as a coach? Because you've learned the sport too. You know this.
There are some times, I'll say, I'd like to know your thought process behind so and so, or what went down when you did this. But I want to be supportive first, but then just for curiosity purposes, yeah, there's some questions I've asked before, but at the end of the day, I just see his passion, not only in the games, but I have the benefit to see him at home and on the sofa, the hours he spends writing practice plans, scouting. I mean, our den, I jokingly say we built you a brand new office years ago for you to put all this stuff in, but it's still in the den, on the table, on the kitchen table. There's basketball everywhere in our home.
He's not alone. I'm in the same boat when it comes to racing. So I'm
Okay.
told all the time that I have an office that I need to start relocating some things to.
right.
So same question this time towards officiating. You can't be teed up during the game where he can, and you
Let's be
can't be
honest on this
ejected.
one. Let's be
How
honest.
tough are you on officiating crews?
Well, if officials know what they're doing and they are calling a game like college basketball needs to be called, there shouldn't be any problems. But occasionally I have been known to, voice my concern with the call that they made. I used to feel really bad after the game was over when the girls were little. I took them to all the games, so I would have a baby on my hip yelling at the official, but I would always try to turn away so that I wouldn't yell in the baby's ear. And I would watch it back on film, and I was like, oh, how embarrassing. Look at that mother there, holding a baby on her hip, going off on the official. Like, that was such a bad example. And then it fast forward to several years later when the girls were old enough to sit by themselves, entertain themselves. I got into a little altercation with an official. I told him he needed to call that traveling call. He didn't call it. And I told him when Matt called a timeout, we need to call that next time, and he thought I needed to be dismissed from the game. So at that point, one of our daughters was with us, and she, saw the security escort me out and thought I was being taken to jail. So it has gotten me in trouble just a few times, but I do try to give them a few chances before I let them know my disappointment in them.
There you go.
As
So-
loud as I am, Kip, she can be louder than the head coach.
I don't doubt that one bit. Favorite memory of him coaching? You got one? Just if you just had one, right?
Well, I'm not good with just one, but I guess something that stands out with me was probably the first time he won the district championship to take us to nationals. It was your second year of the program? Third year of the program. He had battled some discipline issues and injuries really bad that year, and we were down to 8 players, and we were playing an incredibly talented team who had history of winning in the postseason, and I just thought, I just had, butterflies, and I was anxious going into the game, and I just thought, this is just not going to be good, but every game I want so bad for him. I just want it so bad. So I sat there, and I always, say, okay, this, whatever happens is meant to be. Well, turns find out we ended up winning, and it was, we got to host it at home, and just that experience of the buzzer sounding and the music playing and finding out we're going to New York, and watching the guys just kind of look at each other like, what did we just do? It was pretty incredible. I mean, we've had many more wonderful memories, but that one was pretty special, It's kind of like a little taste of what was ahead, too, of all the national trips we were going to get to take.
Awesome. Coach, you've got to have a question.
Well-
or a comment.
I mean, the comment I have is I'm the luckiest coach in the country because not once in 15 years has she gotten upset for me going recruiting and doing all the stuff that I do. And without a supportive coach's wife, you couldn't have a happy family. And so having someone at home running the kids here and there and everywhere and doing homework with the kids, putting them to bed, I get in at 11 o'clock midnight, that's tough on a coach's wife. And I have colleagues that are in college coaching that may not have the same support I have. So I try to make sure she's aware of how much I sincerely appreciate it. I probably don't do a good job with that, but I really am lucky.
Yeah, we as men never do.
That's right.
Or at least we don't think we do. I'll be the first. My wife tells me all the time, because of my traveling, I know how supportive she is of what I do and things of that nature. But yeah, as much as we do try to express our, thankfulness and how blessed we really are, yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't know that we do. We don't meet that expectation in our
It's a
in our
sacrifice
eyes.
for the whole family.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
3 daughters. I mean, there's days where they don't see their daddy. They go to bed, so it's a sacrifice for everybody.
Thank you so much.
you.
Being put on the spot in a very short period of time. Coach, what a great show tonight.
You've done a great job, as
No.
always, Kip.
It's always fun to be asked to come and hang out with you guys and the family, and it's I can't wait for the next time that I'm able to do that. I'm looking forward to the season. A first full season, I'll be able to hang out with you guys at Brinkley Gym.
I'm excited, man. I know our fans are chomping at the bit to get in Brinkley Gym. Speaking of which, our first home game, folks, is this coming Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Central Carolina Community College Cougars. So I hope everybody out there will come out Monday night on the road in Florida versus big-time Chipola. 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We will stream it, and they'll be streaming it as well.
So we'll look forward to catching up with both of those games, and then turn around Thursday night. We'll be right back here November the 4th for the next Coaches Show, where we once again will be talking about Storm basketball, Storm athletics. Coach, thanks for all that you do.
We have about, I'd say, 8-10 players here tonight. We have a big-time sponsor of our team over here, Kurt Linebacker. His family's been very supportive. Our manager, Tristan's in the house. Javion's girlfriend's along his side, or vice versa. I'm not sure which it is. So we appreciate everybody that's out here tonight. Didn't see Brian Hughes and his daughter, so thank y'all for coming out. Natalie, 5-year ongoing manager. Appreciate everybody coming out, folks. And Manuel Teague, the best statistician in the corner. So you folks at home, we appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you Wednesday night, 7 o'clock in Brinkley Gym.
Yeah, we can't go one step further without thanking Matt Ridge for hosting us here at the Eatery Uptown Lexington. If you come here and you leave hungry, it's your own fault.
Matt Jacobs does a great job with the Eatery. Folks, come out and get you a quesadilla.
So thanks for joining us tonight, those of you who were able to join us on Facebook Live and through other sources of social media. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next Thursday.
Jared Bowman, behind the scenes, you're the man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone. For all that you do,
We have about, I'd say, 8-10 players here tonight. We have a big-time sponsor of our team over here, Kurt Linebacker. His family's been very supportive. Our manager, Tristan's in the house. Javion's girlfriend's along his side, or vice versa. I'm not sure which it is. So we appreciate everybody that's out here tonight. Didn't see Brian Hughes and his daughter, so thank y'all for coming out. Natalie, 5-year ongoing manager. Appreciate everybody coming out, folks. And Manuel Teague, the best statistician in the corner. So you folks at home, we appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you Wednesday night, 7 o'clock in Brinkley Gym.
Yeah, we can't go one step further without thanking Matt Ridge for hosting us here at the Eatery Uptown Lexington. If you come here and you leave hungry, it's your own fault.
Matt Jacobs does a great job with the Eatery. Folks, come out and get you a quesadilla.
So thanks for joining us tonight, those of you who were able to join us on Facebook Live and through other sources of social media. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next Thursday.
Jared Bowman, behind the scenes, you're the man.